warm all winter long. Call 217-841-4728 or visit dogtownheatingandair.com. Book your appointment today. Dogtown Heating, Air, and Plumbing, your home's best friend.
You're listening to WSJK ESPN 93.5 Tuscola, Champaign-Urbana, your home for the St. Louis Cardinals.
The tariffs will increase prices at the gas pump or grocery store.
I think Americans who are concerned about increased prices should look at what President Trump did in his first term.
The president has long threatened tariffs on countries he says are not doing enough to stop the flow of illegal migration or drugs into the U.S.
Fox's Jared Halpern at the White House. Canada and Mexico say they're ready to respond to tariffs. A late sell-off on Wall Street. The Dow dropping 337 points as the White House reaffirmed tariffs are coming. Helicopter traffic is being restricted around Washington's Reagan National Airport. The Transportation Secretary just confirming it, saying the decision will help to immediately secure the airspace as investigators try to determine why an Army Black Hawk and a passenger jet collided Wednesday night, killing 67 people. 41 sets of remains recovered so far.
We expect to recover all of the bodies. We have that's why our teams are still working. We're going to have to work with the salvage company to do some of that work.
D.C. Fire and EMS Chief John Donnelly calling it heartbreaking work on the Potomac River. Plans to build a railroad first responder training center are canceled in East Palestine, Ohio, where there was a toxic train derailment in 2023.
While the concept was very promising, we felt it would place an unsustainable burden on the village of 4,700 people.
The mayor, Trent Conaway, says Norfolk Southern's agreed to transfer ownership of the land involved to the village. America's listening to Fox News.
Sometimes I struggle to get to sleep. My body stopped for the day, but my mind is still running. So I take ZzzQuil.
ZzzQuil, the world's #1 sleep aid brand, has a range of non-habit-forming products to fit you and your family's needs. Invest in a great night's sleep for the best you tomorrow.
I'm awake and ready to take on anything.
Better days start with ZzzQuil nights. Explore our products at ZzzQuil.com. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Hey, Mom, I've been meaning to talk to you about some new COVID information I saw online.
Uh-huh.
I read that black folks like us with certain conditions like diabetes, heart disease, mental health conditions, or being 50 and older, like you, are at high risk.
Boy, you sound like a commercial.
I'm just saying. I know you love your ginger teas and essential oils, but remember, there are treatment options for COVID-19.
I promise if I get sick again, I'll call my doctor to ask about my options.
Visit WeTalkWeRise.com to learn more. Brought to you by Pfizer.
A federal appeals court tells San Francisco to take back 2 former city workers who left over COVID vaccine mandates.
Selena Keene and Melody Fontia retiring from their jobs at San Francisco's Human Resources Agency after the city required all of its 25,000 workers to be vaccinated against the coronavirus in 2021. The women argue the vaccines go against their Christian beliefs. The city's vaccine mandate was discontinued in 2023, a federal judge previously dismissing their lawsuit. But the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals siding with the women, ordering San Francisco to rehire them, allowing them to at least work remotely. In a statement, the 3-judge panel writes, forcing individuals to choose between their faith and their livelihood imposes an obvious and substantial burden on religion.
Fox's Christian Goodwin. Americans are split on using weight loss drugs to treat obesity. In a new AP Norc Center poll, about half of U.S. adults surveyed say it's a good thing for adults to use drugs like Ozempic if they're obese or have a health condition tied to weight. The poll finds less support for teens with obesity to use the medications. A former lawmaker who narrowly lost a Michigan Senate race may try for the state's other Senate seat.
Former Republican Congressman Mike Rogers in Michigan ran for Debbie Stabenow's seat this past fall, but lost to the Democrat, now former Rep. Elissa Slotkin. But he lost by just 1/3 of a percentage point, and now says he's considering a run for Senator Gary Peters' seat, as Peters announced he won't run for re-election in 2026. Rogers noting in a statement about the potential run that he received more votes for Senate than any Republican Senate candidate received in the state. On the Democratic side, former Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg may run. He's also moved to Michigan from Indiana, a source telling Fox News he's taking a serious look at that seat. Jeff Manasso, Fox News.
Recapping stocks, the Dow drops 337. The S&P and the NASDAQ also in the red. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News.
Great fight to come back. Give Nebraska a lot of credit. I thought that they had the best player on the court today, William Close and Bryce, and for the most part, you can't turn it over. I write on the board every game, 10 turnovers or less. You cannot turn it over on the road. We repeatedly made scouting report mistakes tonight that we haven't made. Again, I think they had a 1.5 OER the first half. That's by far and away the highest we've had. They've shot 100 more free throw attempts at home than they have on the road. I thought our defense had a chance early, but we just put them to the line. It's one of the big discrepancies with them home and away is their free throw attempts are through the roof at home and not so much on the road. But they played great. We fought back. Our bench was terrific. I thought Trey White was outstanding with 13 rebounds. Without Tommy, we're really thin up front, and it picks up 2 fouls in 2 minutes. So we had to kind of slough our way through the first half with some really different lineups, but give them credit.
Good morning, everybody. It is The Drive, ESPN Radio 93.5. The Drive with Tay and Piper. You will hear from Derek Piper today at 4 o'clock on his way back from Lincoln, Nebraska. Illinois falls to the Nebraska Cornhuskers in overtime. They force overtime. I thought for sure Illinois would then kind of make amends with how poorly they had played the entire game and get a victory out of that one last night, but alas, it did not happen as the Huskers get it done, and Illinois drops another game against a team that probably will not be in the NCAA tournament to go along with a couple of home losses as well this season. All right, The Drive with Tay and Piper are mentioned. I'm Lon Tay. I'm joined today by Corey Witt, my buddy. How are you, man?
I'm doing good. Well,
considering.
My health's not bad, I guess. Right. Which is surprising after watching last night.
Oh, boy. Yeah, it was not good. Kyle Tosk, by the way, sitting this one out. He's kind of on the onset of a little bit of a cold, so he knew you were coming in.
Yeah.
And so he said, hey, I think I'm going to sit this out. So we've got me running the board, which used to be such an automatic thing. Now it's just tricky as can be. But I think we can figure it out. We'll hear a little bit more from Brad Underwood. Again, Derek Piper will be with us from 4 to around 4:25. We'll get his thoughts on what happened last night in Lincoln. And then Hans D, the legend, coming in to help close out the show at 4:30 with a little Who You Got. It's always a fun time when Hans comes in and we shoot the bull, obviously, with that. All right, Corey. Well, listen, I think or yesterday, I don't know if you had a chance to listen to the show, but we talked about two main things. Mm-hmm. We talked about consistency for this Illinois team, and I brought the question up, as Illini fans, are you confident that this team will show enough consistency to go on a run in March? Now, I know that a team is not made in January, right, as it's not made in December or November and even February. But certainly the warts are there for this team. And one of the reasons that we talked about consistency, and one of the reasons that I said I don't think they can be that consistent, is because of the way they run offense, right? And it's the fact that guys like you and I in high school had to try to shoot three-pointers, and on occasion we'd make them. We're actually old enough to where it was my senior year we got the three-point line. So yeah. I got 1 year with it. But certainly the consistency there, and that's asking a lot from anyone to be able to knock down threes when you're shooting at such a high pace. So that was one thing we talked about. We also talked about turnovers yesterday, and I don't know, foreshadowing that game, I think we nailed it pretty well, Kyle and I. So, Corey, last night was just another dud for this Illinois team, and it's a team I think that we all imagine has just a ceiling that is beyond what we want to maybe think about. I mean, in terms of a Final Four kind of team, because we've seen it out of them with efforts against Arkansas, with efforts against Oregon, and on down the road. So when you see that, it gives you that glimpse of, wow, when Illinois is good, they're really good. But unfortunately, we keep having these.
Well, and here's the thing, Lon. Arkansas that win's not looking like it did back in November.
That's true.
And if you think about it, when you go back to the consistency thing you're talking about, it hasn't been there the entire. I mean,
no.
I think Illinois has looked outstanding in 3 basketball games.
Yep.
Penn State.
Yep.
Oregon, Indiana. Other than that, it's been an absolute roller coaster.
It really has.
Because I don't count the Chicago State and things like that. There just hasn't been any consistency at all. And I think it goes back to another point you just brought up. It's the style of offense.
It is.
You cannot be consistent averaging 30-plus threes a game.
Correct.
You just can't. And Brad, this kind of blows my mind that he actually said this in a press conference. He said that he just doesn't understand why they don't, he's called the Big Ten office. You don't understand why they don't get to the free throw line.
Well, yeah.
Well, let me give you a hint. Okay, so take the ball, and then also I've watched. And it's not just Illinois games. I watch a lot of Big Ten.
Sure. Oh yeah.
The one thing the referees are not good.
No.
But the one thing they're consistent with is when you are aggressive and you drive the ball to the hole, they will call fouls and you will get to the free throw line.
Illinois is just not a team that's going to do that because they settle.
Yes.
And when I say settle, that's kind of a bad word. I don't think I know Brad doesn't consider it settling.
No.
He wants Illinois to shoot a high volume of threes. He wants them to attack for the offensive rebounds. And a lot of times that comes into play. And Illinois went into the game last night leading the country in rebounding margin. So obviously this is a team that can hit the offensive boards, and that gives you more shots, et cetera. We understand that. But again, it's as simple as this. It comes down to if you're making threes, then this team could beat a number 1 seed in March. Mm-hmm. If you're not, like last night, then this team could lose to anybody in March.
And you know what? And here's my thing last night with the threes. It wasn't even the fact that they were a lot of times I feel like there's a quota.
Yeah.
And Illinois is just shooting threes just to shoot. Don't even care about the result. We just got to get enough threes up to get our quota. A lot of the threes last night were not bad. They were wide open.
Oh, they're wide open.
But the point is, when you go 1 for your first 15, maybe try something else.
Right. That's the thing, right? That's the rub that really gets to me as well. It's the idea to have kind of a second option to be able to do. Look, I don't, because I never will understand it, but Pipes is good at it. We hear all about it. It's the word analytics that has come into sports within the last 5 years. And we have analytics in baseball that tell you should try to hit for home runs instead of singles, right? I mean, there's just things all over the sporting world that tell you what you should do. Brad Underwood studies the game, right? His staff, they study this game. They understand that shooting threes is and we all understand that, shooting from the three-point line as opposed to 2 foot in from the three-point line, that is the worst shot in basketball, right? Yes. So you may as well step out and shoot a three. But I'm with you on this, and then I want to ask you about Tommy. I'm with you on this in the sense that that's fine. If that's going to be the game plan, essentially, is to just go out and flail, just fire away. If this isn't working, and last night was a perfect example to where after the first 12 misses, you're like, okay, guys, nobody, and this was everybody shooting them, right, except for Merez. So it's like they're not going in.
Correct.
So is there another option in terms of getting to the rim and maybe drawing fouls, et cetera, to get to the free throw line? Kylan Boswell can do it. He's shown all year that he can do it. KJ can do it. I mean, Kylan's doubled up already, easily doubled up what he shot from the free throws attempts last year at Arizona. So we know he can get there. We know KJ can get there. Obviously, Merez. Trey White's probably the best in terms of slashing and getting to the bucket. But all of a sudden, we just kind of settle. And again, that's a bad word to most of us. That's not a bad word to Brad Underwood when it comes to shooting. And so that's the frustration there. Let me ask you this. longtime Illini fan that you are, Tommy is out, and we don't know when he's coming back. Now, there's two thoughts to this. Number one, you need to be able, and Derek Piper wrote this perfectly today in an article that he had on Illini Inquirer, and I'm going to ask him about it next hour. But essentially, he talked about how, hey, there was one year where you were missing, Io for a stretch, and you still did well. There was one year you were missing Andre Curbelo for a stretch. You still won the Big Ten. And I can't remember the third. It was one that was really just stood out to you about somebody that had been hurt most of the season. Well, Terrence Shannon.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry, last year, who wasn't hurt, but missed 6 games due to the suspension, et cetera. And Illinois kept their head above water. They're not keeping their head above water with Tommy. So is Ivisic that important? And I don't think – listen, I think you can get in trouble by saying yes, and he's the reason for this downturn. No. And you can also get in trouble by saying no, because you should be able to just rally even without one guy. You should be good enough. Exactly. So I don't know what the answer is. I think it's both.
I think the answer is yes, he's very valuable.
Big time.
And he's a very good player, and he stretches the D, and he opens up the lane for drive. By the center or the big man for the opposing team having to come out to guard and legitimately guard the three.
Correct.
With him.
Correct. Opens up a lot.
Yes, and by him being gone, it puts a lot of guys out of position, guarding people they shouldn't be guarding.
That's correct.
But here's the thing, Lon. I had this discussion earlier today with somebody. If you're the team that Brad Underwood says you are, we're Final Four good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if that's legit, let's just use Duke for example. I mean I can't stand them, but let's use them for an example.
Puke.
If you pick any of their starting 5 and Cooper Flagg, any of them, take him out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, does Maryland go into Duke and win by 21 without Cooper Flagg?
No.
Does Duke go into Nebraska and get beat?
Probably not.
Okay. There's some other issues. And here's another thing. I'm going to use the ladies. They've got 2 great starters out. They just keep chugging along.
They got like 4 players.
Yeah.
Injured,
and 2
but 2
really
starters.
good. Yes. Yeah. And they're chugging along pretty good.
They are. They've kind of rallied here for Shauna Green. That's true. That's true.
I just don't know that. I guess maybe what I'm saying is I think Illinois got a good basketball team, but I don't know. I think maybe we all kind of overrated.
Okay.
We saw a couple. We saw them look good, not good.
I mean,
really
they look
good
great
in
at
3.
times.
Yeah, 3 games stand out. But the type of things that went on in those games with the threes falling and that's just not. It goes back to your consistency thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then you were talking about we were one of the best offensive rebound, and that's true.
It is.
If you look at the numbers, that's true. But a lot of that's because it's huge, big-time bricks coming off 20 feet, and we're grabbing rebounds.
Guys at Villa Grove back in '88 loved when I would shoot. They wouldn't go under the bucket. They'd be like, hey, go to the free throw line. It's going to bounce at least that far.
I saw a stat. We are 64 for our last 240 from 3.
It's like 350th in the country, right?
Yeah.
Or right in there.
And he just keep shooting.
They just keep firing.
Keep shooting them.
I did see today Stephen Bardo on Twitter kind of essentially defending Brad and the system, saying maybe not that he agrees with what they're doing. It's just he's essentially saying, well, you can't change now. Like you're at the end of February starts tomorrow. Like you can't all of a sudden go to some different style of play and just, change everything up. So I think you are who you are right now. And it's just a matter now of maybe Brad saying, okay, let's cut back on 20% of our threes.
Sure.
And try something different once in a while. Now, having Ivisic, I want to go back to that just real quick because, as I mentioned, it's okay to say, we aren't as good because he's missing, and it's okay to say, but you should be good enough to still win at Nebraska, right? I mean, in other words, that's yes to both. But it's not like Dave Downey's coming off the bench, right? I mean, we don't have a guy that's going to come in and score 60 for us in a game. So we do need Tommy Ivisic back.
Absolutely.
And what Tomislav does, like you mentioned, he opens up that middle because a big man has to come out and guard him. And the Maryland game would have been perfect, having to bring one of those big boys out to have to guard him at the three-point line. And then it does open up other things. And on top of the fact that percentage-wise, he's probably your second-best three-point shooter behind KJ.
Yeah.
So, obviously, I am not going to sit here and say that doesn't play into what is happening with Illinois
Sure.
and the fact that it's a hiccup for this team. But it might just be simply this, Corey, that this team, to operate like Brad wants to with all of these threes, it has to be whole. And he talks about that. And maybe that is where Brad sits by himself or sits with the staff and says, guys, we can either try to change things or we can hope that we get whole and that everything works. Because when it does work, as we've mentioned, it works really well.
Yeah.
Last night, Derek Piper had a chance to ask Brad Underwood about his shots. I know you came in talking about this.
Yeah.
And Brad was a little testy,
little
salty at the postgame, and obviously gets along well with all these guys. Obviously, he appreciates guys like Joey Wagner and Derek Piper making a 7-hour drive out to Lincoln, Nebraska to cover this game. But Brad Underwood had this, and here's what Derek Piper asked him. Maybe this is what he asked him.
Not at all.
Here we go.
I'm good with it because we got 20.
We're going to do this again. I apologize. I had the wrong button up. That doesn't surprise me on my end. So my apologies, but it's such a good interaction. I want you to hear it. So here's Brad Underwood last night and Derek Piper.
25% from three since Oregon. Is there anything you've seen in the process, the kind of shots you're getting, that is there a point that that's bothering you?
Not at all. I'm good with it because we got 21 back, and those 21 lead to layups or opportunities, and it's a I don't know, a downtime. It's one thing you can't control. Without Tommy, it's no lie, we're not the greatest post-up team in the world, but we've got to be able to crease the defense with our guards, and we have been. We're one of the top teams in the country with 2-point rate. Tonight we didn't, and didn't do it very well. And that's a tribute to their defense. But I can't get. I mean, some of those were so open that you weren't very good as a player, but you could have made some of those. And that's, believe me, I've heard. So I know how crappy a player you were. But so you could have made some of them.
Boom. All right. So Brad Underwood is telling Derek Piper that even he could have made some shots from that. He is right.
Yeah.
There were a lot of open threes, and you have to be better.
Yes, you do.
And especially if that's your game, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you were brought in essentially. This team was formulated essentially to shoot three-pointers and be shooters. And I can recall not that long ago, Corey, you and I both can recall Illinois teams that could not shoot.
Oh, no.
And didn't have many shooters. And I remember thinking, is there not a dude out there that we can grab that can shoot a three-pointer?
Right.
Now, Luke Goody's like third in the Big Ten this year in three-point percentage. He'd be nice to have, right, on this squad right now. But certainly you have guys that can make threes. Trey White, that was the other thing yesterday. We kind of called a Trey White game. I said he was going to score 20, and if he did, Kyle owed me a Snickers. And Kyle said that Humrickhouse was going to hit 5 threes, and, he did hit a free throw.
Well, he made a free throw.
So I didn't have to worry about the Snickers for Kyle, and we can get to Ben.
Okay.
But essentially, I mean, you just can't be that bad shooting. You can't. These guys have to be more consistent, but I don't know what, at this point of the year, I don't know that you're going to get that. I mean, they can come out Sunday against Ohio State and they could beat the Buckeyes by 28 points. And we'd all be like, okay, now what? Jekyll and Hyde here.
Right. What are we going to get at Rutgers Wednesday?
Exactly.
Here's the thing. If you look back at the games where we were really good, the 3 we talked about that stand out, the threes were not only falling, but I think they were falling for a reason. They were coming a lot more within the rhythm of the offense. And you know why? Because you had Tommy out there. You had guys back cutting, hitting them for the offense was just flowing, and the threes they weren't forced.
Right.
They were coming within the rhythm of the offense. And that makes a huge difference when instead of just coming down to shoot a three, shoot a three.
Yeah, because Kylan threw up a few that were forced. Some were within rhythm last night, right?
Oh, sure.
And I know what Brad talks about in the idea that he said we get 21 back, and he means 21 rebounds.
Right.
Now, the best shot in basketball is the offensive rebound that leads to a wide-open three.
Sure.
It seems like that goes down 90% of the time, except for Illinois last night against Nebraska. So, and I'm sorry, but this Nebraska team is not good.
They're not good. And you know what else? Not only are they not good, they didn't even play that good.
They didn't.
It's not like they came out and just played out of their mind.
That's correct. That is correct.
This was a bad team on a 6-game losing streak that just got dog walked by 28 points the other night.
Dog walked.
I mean, by the collar. And they come out and didn't even play that well. I mean, they played okay.
Yeah, but
and that's just how. Here's the thing. This is how I'm going to sum this up of how bad Illinois was last night. As bad as we were, this proves to me how bad Nebraska is, I should say. As bad as we were, we had the ball tied at 70.
Yes.
Okay, now, why do you think, Lon, when we have the ball with 27 seconds and it's tied, why do you think, going back to the game plan, that Illinois or Nebraska still had 3 fouls to give at 27 seconds?
That's because we're not forcing fouls.
You're shooting three.
Yep.
I mean, how many college basketball games in any league have you watched where the one team with 27 seconds had, most of the time it's double bonus.
Exactly. Where you instead of having to foul 3 times,
and because of that, I think that really screwed our chances for that last shot.
Messes with the momentum.
We had to end up settling for a fadeaway 3 with a guy in your face falling out of bounds in the deep corner,
which we love doing that.
Which somehow, And then I don't know. Brad just look. I know. I'm not trying to say that I know more than him, but he looks at different things than I do when I'm watching the game. He actually said that was a great look we got at the end. What? If that's a great look,
right? Yeah,
I was scared each time we inbounded on the side. We about didn't get it in every time.
That is, and Nebraska tore you up with inbounds a couple of times.
They ran the same underneath the basket, out of bounds play 2 times in a row and got 2 dunks.
Boom, boom. All right, we're going to hear more from Brad Underwood. We are letting you vent, and we're venting, to be honest with you. So it's one of those situations that, I've said this a million times. People listening to the show will know that I've said it a million times. But my good friend Rich Herron, the former SIU basketball coach, who always used to say, you can't get too high, you can't get too low, Lon. But you know what? It's hard not to. It's hard not to come in after you tear up Oregon or tear up Indiana or tear up Penn State, a team that's been a nemesis to you. It's hard not to get too high at that point. And then it's really hard not to get too low after what happened last night in Lincoln, Nebraska. So really frustrating there. There's no doubt about it. If you want to weigh in on the Max Twin City Recycling text line, please do. 217-359-2255. Again, that's 217-359-2255. We'll hear a little bit more from Brad coming out. We'll also get to your texts as we roll along. A reminder, Derek Piper will join me at 4:05. We'll get his thoughts on the road back from Lincoln. And then Hans D coming in at 4:30 for his award-winning, though we've never received an actual award, Who You Got. So excited to get Hans in here for that next hour. Excited that you were able to join me today, Corey, as well.
I love it.
You kind of called this a couple days ago. You texted me. You're like, hey, I know Pipes is going to be gone. Do you mind if I come in? And it worked out because Kyle's kind of had a scratchy throat, not feeling the best, so it worked out today.
Well, and I love the fact that I get to come on your show. You came on mine.
Absolutely.
My podcast.
Hey, what is that?
Orange and blue through and through.
Told you to remind me.
Yeah, I know.
I did tell you that to remind me because I
did.
don't remember anything anymore in life. Orange and blue through and through.
We had a great discussion.
We did. It was you and Dave Wisnowski and I.
Yeah, it was a good one.
It's on my Facebook page.
Yeah.
So if you're a Facebook friend of mine, you can go on there and get that. But
Spotify.
I was going to say, so you can get that?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
What do they call those? What do they call those things? Like whatever can you find your podcast on?
Oh, all platforms.
Oh, platforms. That's the key right there.
I didn't know what you were going with there.
So Spotify and Apple.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I started to watch a show the other night on Apple TV, and I know I've got it, but I've never signed up for it.
Really?
And I didn't want to take the time to do all the passwords and everything.
Sure.
I'm like, I'll just watch the show later. So the next time Andrew's over, I'll have him do the password thing, and then I'll be set up to watch Friday afternoon baseball games in Major League Baseball.
Lord. Okay.
We're not going to talk baseball, are we?
No.
Let's don't talk baseball. All right. We are back with your thoughts on the Max Twin City Recycling text line. We'll also hear a little bit more from Brad Underwood. It's not a happy day around central Illinois and certainly across the country for Illinois fans as they fall to the Nebraska Cornhuskers. I tweeted out after the game, Corey, 6 seed. I mean, I think Illinois was firmly planted in that 4 seed line. Now I think you've dropped to a 6.
I do too, at least.
At least.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to
And I had a lot of comebacks from blowbacks from people saying 6.
Well, if it doesn't change quick, it's going to be 8-9.
Right.
And if it doesn't change then, it's going to be maybe play-in.
Oh, yikes.
But I'm not saying that's going to happen.
I agree.
And who knows? They may come out of this funk, and they are capable.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
I'm not trying to write the season off. I'm just saying if it continues,
right,
what we've been seeing.
Absolutely. Hey, we could have written the Blues season off a few years ago, right? We could have written that off. And instead,
we're jumping in a pool.
What do? They come out and win the Stanley Cup, and you and I did literally jump in a pool. That's crazy. All right, we're back. It is The Drive.
Salt and Light could really use your help. My name is Nathan Montgomery, and on behalf of myself, our board, and the rest of the team at Salt and Light, we are asking you to consider supporting the life-changing work we do every day. Our board members have pledged to match all donations to up to $58,000 because they believe so strongly in the impact happening through Salt and Light. We need your help to change lives and transform our community. From creating meaningful opportunities for people to acquire the food, clothing, and basic needs they have, to working with people towards full-time, self-sustaining employment. We believe every person was born with skills, gifts, and abilities, and we want to help them realize the fullness of who it is God has created them to be. If you're able to give, check out our website at saltandlightministry.org for lots of options and ways to give. For ways to get involved, visit our website at saltandlightministry.org. We need your help to change lives and transform our community.
You know ABC Heating and Air Conditioning is locally owned and operated for over 50 years. And you know they help you with your HVAC issues any time of the day or night. But did you know now through March 31st, you can save up to $500 off a complete Amana heating and air system? That's right. ABC Heating and Air Conditioning is offering a special until the end of March where you can save up to $500 off a complete Amana system. Call Gina at ABC Heating and Air Conditioning for complete details or visit abcheatingandac.com.
You've set your financial goals. One kid plans to go Big Ten, the other Ivy. Your bucket list includes seaside sunrises and sunsets on the slopes, or perhaps a second home away from it all. Busey Bank can help develop the right investment strategy to take charge of the years ahead. Busey Bank, building business, growing wealth since 1868. Proud to be the official bank of the Fighting Illini. Member FDIC.
The Urbana Park District Health and Wellness Center is open. Located at 2002 East Washington Street in Urbana next to the Brookins Center, the Health and Wellness Center has 2 full basketball gyms, pickleball courts, a walking track, weight and cardio rooms, a fitness classroom, and a meeting room. Buy an annual membership for unlimited access. For more information, call 217-255-8601 or visit urbanaparks.org. Urbana Park District, you belong here.
We would like to invite you to the St. Joseph Ogden FFA auction February 1st at the St. Joseph Ogden High School.
Dinner and silent auction begins at 5, followed by a live auction at 6. There are no tickets needed to attend, and anyone is welcome.
Items to be auctioned off include fire pits, solo stove, various Milwaukee tools, door lock welding table, various silent auction baskets and gift certificates from local businesses.
You can learn more about our auction at our Facebook page, St. Joseph Ogden FFA.
PDR Automotive has now been serving the Champaign-Urbana area for over 50 years. To give you some perspective, 50 years ago ended the U.S. involvement in the Vietnam War, and it was when Secretariat won the Triple Crown. So what does that mean for you and your vehicle? Whether you need a carburetor overhauled or your new vehicle computer system diagnosed or programmed, PDR Automotive has the experienced, knowledgeable staff that can handle all your automotive needs. Online at pdrauto.com, they are what's best for your truck or car. They are PDR.
JT Barnhart, president of OSF Healthcare.
As part of my role as president of OSF and have the campuses in Urbana and Danville, it's really just promoting the services that we offer, all of the avenues that we have to take great care of people who live in this area. We had a great opportunity with the Urbana Park District to help support their new wellness center. We did a scholarship fund for the next 5 years that'll allow 400 to 500 community members who live in Urbana to be able to access the center with OSF, and so that came out great. We want to be easy to use, quick access, be able to schedule appointments timely, be able to get seen by specialists within a week or two. That's not always the case in town, so we pride ourselves on that. We hope you don't ever need an emergency room, but if you do get hurt and you are injured, our ER, I think, is top-notch. And Dr. Bloomstrand in Urbana, the program that he runs, our nursing care, we're going to get you in quick, going to get you taken care of and get you home. Just always love to promote the service in the emergency room.
We already touched on how great the website is. For more information, osfhealthcare.org. See You at Home's One Winter Night Outdoor Challenge comes our way in early February, and now is the time to get involved in this powerful opportunity for our community to learn about homelessness and build empathy for the people served, raising funds to support the mission of See You at Home. Participants can register to take part in the One Winter Night Outdoor Challenge on February 7th. As you get involved in this vital ministry, experiencing difficulties faced by homeless individuals on cold winter nights, spending the night in an outdoor tent or car or makeshift shelter, getting together a team, or serving as an individual. Events like One Winter Night are crucial in helping raise necessary funds in this life-changing, supportive event to break the cycle of homelessness and achieve long-term stability. Your participation directly contributes to these transformative outcomes. For details, visit seeyouathome.us.
It is The Drive, ESPN Radio 93.5. The Drive with Tay and Piper. Derek Piper will join us 4 o'clock, about 4:05, that is, from, well, you won't be in Lincoln. He's probably almost home, to be honest with you, but we'll get his thoughts. He was at the game last night at Pinnacle Arena. Corey Witt joining me today is Kyle Tosk taking a day off, doing a Lante, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Well, it's not a week, it's one
well,
day.
That, okay. Yeah, that is, yeah. Somebody's like, one day I ran into somebody I haven't seen in a while, and they're like, you still do the show? And I started laughing because I thought they were just digging me.
Yeah.
Like, just literally just giving me grief about not being on the show, but they honestly hadn't heard it in a while. So I'm like, I thought you were just giving me crap because I do miss a lot of shows. But, hey, I'm busy.
Well, yeah. Well, I texted Piper, as a couple weeks ago, I tuned in and I heard your voice, and I texted Piper while you guys were on the air, and I said, hey, who's the new guy?
It's like, hey. Hey. Yeah, I guess I've earned the NBA, what do they call that when they sit out? Like Joel Embiid does it better than anybody. He just doesn't play anymore.
That DNP or
yeah, like they call it. There's a word for it. And I can't think what it's called, but I earned that. I get tired. I'm old. We're old, Corey.
Well, back in the day when Tim Duncan was playing, he sat out. The coaches have for the NBA. They have to fill out this because if your star's not playing,
yes,
they want to know and they want a reason. And Popovich literally wrote one word in it. He put old. That's why.
Heard that story.
That's why Duncan's not playing. He put old.
Well, listen, there's something to it, right? I got to refresh on occasion. All right, so Corey Wood's with me. Lante, if you want to weigh in, 217-359-2255. I want to get to some of these that have already been sent in. I know that we're getting a lot coming in, and it's hard to try to kind of figure out where we're at. I know there was one I wanted to see. All right, this was from Wade. DGL needs to be starting, and I feel like he's earned it. Morez gets one foul with his arm straight up, going straight in the air. I do agree with that. And then he gets another foul because the guy runs into him while he's standing flat on 2 feet. not why they lost, but ridiculous calls. Let's go back to the first part of that. Dre Gibbs Lawhorn, number one, why he wasn't on the court in the last minute after he had just knocked down a three. Knocked down 2 big threes, in fact.
Wow, one huge one.
Huge. And then all of a sudden he goes to the sideline. And I'm like, what? What are we doing?
He even kind of looked back like, what?
Yeah, like you're taking me out.
And you're putting a guy
Ben
that's
in.
0 for 14 in?
Correct.
And Underwood was asked about that after the game. And I'll be honest with you, it was some Rimmerod answer that I didn't even understand.
Right.
I don't think he had an answer.
Mm-hmm.
And he was called on it. And it was a bogus answer. And I think if he had that to do again, I would hope
you would keep DGL on the court.
I mean,
should he start
right now with the way everything is and Tommy out and everything's out of whack? Yeah, because
it's not a bad idea right now. I agree with you.
He brings some energy,
He
brings
does.
some athleticism.
He does.
Right now, I think that the Humrick House experiment needs to be kind of.
I mean, well,
I don't mean
he sums up. I mean, first of all, I don't know that and I'm sure there have been because we live in the now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I remember an Illinois player that was so hot and cold.
Yeah, he's literally feast or famine.
And what's the thing we talked about starting the show, and we talked all day about it yesterday, consistency.
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen a more inconsistent player than Ben Humrickhouse.
Yeah.
And, I mean, when he's bad, he's just brutal, like the Missouri game when they just feasted on him.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he's good, like the Oregon game and the Arkansas game, then all of a sudden the team is really good.
Yeah.
I'd hate to think that we come and go as Ben Humrickhouse comes and goes, but there is some evidence of that.
Yes.
And he kind of sums up the team.
Well, and he's brought in for one reason, and
Right.
that's to make
That
three-point shots.
is correct. Yep.
And when he's not doing that, I don't know what all he really gives you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, now, if he is hitting, he's absolutely a 6'9" guy that can stroke it. I mean, if he's on, keep him in there. But when he I don't know what his final stats were. I know last night, though, he made one free throw. That was the extent of it. And like I talked about earlier, it wasn't bad threes. They were open.
They were wide open.
But he wasn't, other than a couple, he wasn't even coming close.
No, he really wasn't. On the Max Twin City Recycling text line, Big Def, Band of Brothers quote for Lon. Love that show, by the way.
Yeah, good show.
It's on Netflix now, by the way,
cool.
if you haven't seen it. Norman Dyke wasn't a bad CO because he made bad decisions. He was a bad CO because he made no decisions. And he said, Lon, I've texted you guys all year through wins and losses. I'm not watching bad coaching by Brad. I'm watching too much non-coaching. And you brought it up at the break to me. On the last play, it kind of looked like Brad was just he was just kind of looking around like.
He didn't even know whether to call time. He was looking back at the bench like, what do I do?
Right.
And,
It's like, what are we doing?
Yeah, and that's what the last 27 seconds look like.
That's
right. We could not have played more into their hands on that last.
I totally agree.
The fact that they had 3 fouls to give, the way we handled throwing it way in the backcourt and killing about 10 seconds without them having to even foul at all.
That's right.
So then they get to foul at the last, with 5 seconds to go, they finally committed that 6th foul. I'm sorry.
Yep.
And then we got the great look in the corner, according to
Yeah.
So
Kyler says the threes don't bother me. It's the lack of, and then somebody texts in right when I'm in the middle of it. The threes don't bother me, but it's the lack of paint touches before a three is shot. We put zero pressure on the defense most possessions, and I agree with that, Kyler.
Yes. And
because
that's back to the rhythm of
the rhythm of it, right? And I do think Tommy is a big part of that, right? I mean, he's he may be your best passer.
Yeah, well, I think he is.
I mean, KJ's really good.
Right now, KJ is turning the ball over at an alarmingly high rate.
And weird, like junior high turnovers.
Yeah, it's stuff that's not even forced.
Right.
Last night,
it's just like dribbling and just letting it go to a guy.
Last night, he had a defender that maybe was 5 feet from him, and he fumbled it straight to him.
He did.
The guy didn't even do anything.
Yeah, it's like a junior high turnover.
And here's the thing. I love KJ. I think his ceiling is just
incredible
through the clouds in the sky. But he gets going too fast sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's trying to think 2 steps ahead of what he's actually doing.
He'll be even better in the NBA, right?
Yeah. I mean, he's going to have to start shooting a little better, which he will. What is he, 19 maybe, 18, 19?
And he's still, like in the first half, kind of kept your head above water. You know, he scored, he ended up with like 18 points, 14 rebounds.
Yeah.
5 assists or whatever. He always puts up numbers, but he had like 7 turnovers.
6, and he had 7.
Six.
So he's had 13 in the last 2 games.
That's too much. That is too much.
guard.
Ken said the roster construction and offensive approach are flawed. Maybe Brad should have taken another big man who was ready to play in the Big Ten instead of Kerry Booth, who doesn't play. And maybe he needs X's and O's guys on his staff other than trusting his inexperienced son to run the offense. Now, that was also brought up from Tim and Benton. Appreciate Tim listening down in Rangers country. Everyone made a big deal of Lovie Smith's nepotism hiring his son as a coach. I haven't heard much of Underwood doing the same with Tyler. So, you know, I mean, listen, I think there's some thought to that, you know, because I guess, you know, that'd be a good question I guess I can ask Pipe sometime about with Hamer running the defense and with Tyler running kind of the offensive coordinator, if you will, of this team. So certainly there's some jabs that need to be thrown out. I love Tyler.
Sure.
But, this offense does not look good. If this is the new wave, right, where these kids grew up watching NBA, and I'm not saying that's wrong, right? I mean, Brad has compared himself to I don't think he's compared himself to Brad Stevens, but kind of running like that Celtics offense that Brad Stevens ran. So, I mean, it's interesting, and it just doesn't seem like it's working. So, yeah. All right. Steve said that Corey needs to speak into the mic. He can't hear him. So you need to.
Okay.
Yeah. So there you go.
Well, I will get up on there.
Bill, if Tyler were good, wouldn't someone else hire him? Well, I mean, he's just kind of new into this role.
Oh yeah.
A little bit. So
Yeah.
I don't know that he's shown enough, maybe a little bit to understand that. So. I don't know where I'm hearing that sound.
Yeah,
all right, that's my fault. All right, Brian, sorry for giving you crap about your Humrick House pregame comments on Twitter last night, Derek. I don't wish any ill will to the kid, but his minutes need to dwindle going forward. DGL and Will Riley are both ready for bigger roles. Thoughts on that? I would agree with DGL. I don't think up to this point that I would sit here and say that Will Riley was necessarily ready for a bigger role. Now, did he show it last night?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And we kind of called that, but up until the game, the Michigan State game, we hadn't seen anything from Will.
Very inconsistent. And, you know, and the thing is, I was going to mention this earlier. If it wasn't for a late game Will Riley heater last night, that game wouldn't have been that close.
No, you're right.
It was
exactly
a late
right.
game heater by Will Riley.
Yeah.
That saved that really ignited that comeback.
Yep. No, you're exactly right in that regard. All right, I wanted to play something from Brad. Now, the one thing that really frustrates me about a coach, like you make millions of dollars. I know it's not fun. I've said it before. I'd hate to leave this radio show after I really just struggled one day and have Joey Wagner, Scott Ritchie, you know, a bunch of guys sitting outside the door here ready to just fire away at me about, Lon, you said interesting 58 times. Is there a reason you say that word all the time? So I get it that it's not always that fun to have to listen to reporters and talk to reporters after a game. But when you get in that tense where you're asking questions back to the reporter, it's not a good look.
No.
And Brad knows that. He's really good at this stuff. But last night he was really on to that. And right after he just kind of accused Derek Piper of playing like crap and not being a good shooter, then he was faced with this.
Turnovers, yeah, I mean, big number, you know, but it seemed like there was always made a turnover in like in just the most ill-timed moment.
Absolutely. 17 points off of him. 17 points off of him. Is that a question or is that a statement?
I mean, just
what do you want me to say to that?
What did that do? And I mean, just when you had some momentum building and then you cough it up.
What do you think it did?
I mean,
not made me feel very good. That's not even a question. You're right. Yeah, we did. I can't help that. I mean, we've had a lot of games we haven't done that. When we're sharp mentally, we don't do that.
Time for 2 more. Okay, well, there you answered the question. Sorry. You weren't sharp mentally then. That's the answer to the question, Brad. It's not to sit there and, you know, just slay the reporter because he's going to ask you that question that he's probably uneasy about asking anyway.
Right, sure.
So, I mean, that's a little frustrating to me.
It's very frustrating, and that's part of his job that he gets paid extremely well for. It's not his job to ask the reporter questions.
Yeah, right. Here's some more Brad Underwood.
It looked like.
Well, I knew we're the youngest team in Power 4, so, or what, I don't even know what we call it anymore. But what is challenging is that we've had 2 games without Kasparas. We're 3 now without Tommy. Tommy's played sick in 2 of them, and KJ's played 8 minutes in 1 of them. So it's nice when we have our pieces and would like to continue to grow. It is frustrating for me because I know where we can be and what we were getting to. Tonight's frustrating for me because of the mental lapses that we had that we haven't been making, and I don't know when we get whole again. I don't. We'll know more, as we continue to move forward. But Tommy's a big piece of what we do, and Merez was becoming that. We got the number 1 defense in the country when those 2 are on the floor together. Well, you put 7-1, 250, and quite arguably our second best shooter, maybe our best shooter now, out of the lineup, and we all know how he can pass. That's we got to get back to that at some point, getting whole again. But can't turn it over and win. You can't miss free throws and win on the road. Not in this league.
There you go. That's Brad Underwood. And it's not like he's lying there when he talks about the fact that KJ only played 8 minutes against Michigan State. That was the story of that game.
Yeah,
we
absolutely.
All know that. Tommy playing sick a couple of those games. Didn't he play the Michigan State game and just wasn't feeling well? Right.
He did. That was the last game he's played.
That's right. And then, of course, missing 3. So, and he said it there. He said what we had said earlier, that, you're talking about a 7'1" guy that's probably he is, I think, by percentage, your second best shooter, maybe your first. Mm-hmm. And he's maybe your best passer.
Oh, yeah.
So there's certainly credence to that. And like I mentioned earlier, it's okay to say yes to both thoughts of, well, we're losing because Tommy's not playing. Well, that is correct. But we should be good enough to win without Tommy, especially at Nebraska. Well, that is correct.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, I want to talk about something.
Oh, and you had mentioned something, and then we'll get to what.
Oh, okay.
You had mentioned something earlier too. The other thing about Tommy is that you don't have any depth underneath. No. It's just him and Merez.
Just from a pure depth standpoint.
Yeah, and then Merez,
he gets 2 fouls in 4 minutes. You're done.
Exactly. And right off the bat, I was like, oh crap,
that's a problem.
I'm like, maybe we can get away with this against Nebraska, but obviously you couldn't.
Because now we got Jake Davis guarding.
Let's go, Jake.
And it's not his fault.
No. Jake is a fun dude, but I don't need him coming in and trying to check a big.
Yeah. Well, and this wasn't something that I thought of. I actually heard Mike LaTulip mention this last night after the game, and it got to me to thinking. And we've been listening to these press conferences.
Yep.
So there comes a point where you just got to suck it up and be tough and get over the fact that you are missing people. You have been missing people.
Right.
He made a great comment to me, or to everybody that was listening, and said, sometimes when the head man continues every press conference to really come across as woe is me.
Yeah.
With the injuries, with the sickness.
Yep.
He said, especially when you're dealing with a young basketball team, that trickles down. And then sometimes the players start having the woe is me.
Right.
And almost like expect to lose.
That's exactly right.
And that's just
exactly right.
I never really thought about that, but he's right. He's 100% right.
Yeah. I'm with you on
that.
Get
over this. I mean, we all know Tommy's out.
Right. We understand that by now.
We know KJ was hurt.
Yeah.
We know he didn't get to play but 8 minutes against Michigan State.
Exactly.
Okay. Let's move forward.
Let's move forward and figure something out.
Absolutely.
Amen. Dan in Urbana even said we had weeks to prepare for this game on a team with a 6-game losing streak. So, Scott, excuses against bad teams is a bad look. Coach him up. You're better than that. 816. It's all Tommy's fault for getting sick. That's why we can't shoot, can't defend,
right?
Can't stop turning it over, have terrible shot selection, and we blow easy layups. We can't possibly be the coaching. But when Ivisic returns, we'll be just fine.
Yeah, everything's just going to magically. Now he will definitely help.
I hate dogging on Brad, but I know that I mean, I don't mind doing it. I don't hang out with Brad Underwood, so I hope people out there don't think, well, Lon, you're just like defending him. I'm not. I maybe shake his hand once a year at a tailgate.
Sure.
That's it.
Me
right?
too. Me
yeah,
too.
you and I both. So it's not like I'm buddies with Brad, but certainly he's done some good things. They're in a rut. I don't know what he needs to say that would make anybody happy after losing to Nebraska. But I'm with you, like on the Tommy stuff, and I'm with you with the kind of the way he went at that post game last night was
not a good look.
It wasn't a good look. So, and I'm going to ask Derek Piper about that a little bit too. It was a little testy. All right, Corey, we've got about 3 minutes left here. Again, I appreciate you.
Oh, love it.
Jumping on this hour. Derek Piper will join me next hour for the first segment, and then Hans D will be here to round things up. Heading to Mount Zion tonight, we got Muhammad. Round 2 against Muhammad, so we'll play them tonight. And then tomorrow, we're at Normal West against Bradley Bourbonnais.
The old Chris Gandy school.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So this will be another 4A test for the young Mount Zion squad. Not young Mount Zion. They're not young by any means.
Right.
But,
well, compared to us, they are.
Step below. Well, yeah, they are young compared to us. That is a good point. So, but excited for that. Listen, how do we bounce back against Ohio State besides just making shots?
Take the ball to the basket.
Into the mic, he said that, too.
Yes, I want to make sure that Bill, or I don't know who it was, that can hear me. And I know you can't just put your head down and go to the basket every time you got the ball. But if you do it and you draw some fouls and you at least loosen them up a little, loosen the defense up a little bit to where they were basically just glued to us on the three, and we couldn't even get a good three off. I mean, now we did in the first half. We missed about 4 or 5, 6 wide open ones, but for the most part of that game, of the 42 we shot, I don't know how many were great looks.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
And anytime you shoot 42 in a game, I know it went in overtime, but they shot 8 in overtime, and I think it was it 1 for 8 or 0 for 8 in overtime?
I don't even know.
It was ugly.
By that point, I was just like it was just something for me to stare at.
Well, and another thing I think we need to do is clamp down the better on. I know overall the defense has been. But we've gotten into a habit, and it's all of the guards, of trailing.
I agree.
Of trailing. Why do we trail?
Yep.
And it just, what that does is it allows the guard that you're guarding to get into the lane, and then your defense is broken completely down.
Right.
Because the guy in the middle now has to come and so it opens up.
Yep.
It's dunks, lobs.
Penetrate and kick.
I don't understand. You watch other teams, they get through the screens.
Yeah.
We trail. We just follow the guy.
It's frustrating. And Ohio State's better than Nebraska.
I think our Villa Grove and ABL teams might have been.
Maybe if we put them together. Corey, we got to get out of here.
Sure.
Thank you, buddy.
Thanks a lot for
We'll
having
do it
me.
again. I promise.
I want you to come back on my show, too.
Yeah, orange and blue through and through.
Yep.
You can find it on Spotify or Apple.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, Derek Piper's joining me next. Let's take a break. We'll do it when we get back. It is The Drive.
Thank you, man. I really
Look no further than your local heroes at ABC Heating and Air Conditioning. Hi, this is Gina inviting you to give us a call at 217-352-5400 to book your appointment to make sure your furnaces run safely and efficiently this winter. We've been proudly locally owned and operated and have been serving our community for over 50 years. ABC, always be comfortable. Call me 217-352-5400 to book your appointment today or go to abcheatingandac.com.
You have money laying all around your house. You just don't know it. And no, I don't mean selling your great-grandma's good china. I mean all the old metal items you don't want to use or get rid of. Don't pay someone to haul it away. Bring it into Max Twin City Recycling and get paid to have it taken off your hands. They love new customers and are more than willing to walk you through their process step by step. Come check them out at 2808 North Lincoln Avenue in Urbana.
Starting it over is what we do at Max Twin City Recycling.
Illinois basketball season is underway. Single game tickets to see your Fighting Illini at State Farm Center are on sale now at fightingillini.com. Great seats are still available. Lock in your tickets for big games against Big Ten opponents before they're gone. Don't miss your chance to see the winningest team in the Big Ten Conference over the last 5 years. Be part of the atmosphere and get tickets at fightingillini.com.
In 1925, a small plumbing company began its journey in Urbana, Illinois. Over the decades, the business grew thanks to hard work and great people. In 1966, things changed when Dave Reichard, a veteran, met veteran Ken Asklin, who was an architectural engineering grad from Illinois. The two realized their shared vision for excellence. Their partnership took root, and in 1975, the name changed to A&R Mechanical. With Dave as president and Ken as vice president, A&R Mechanical expanded services, becoming the go-to full-service contractor for all of Central Illinois. A&R went from a plumbing-only contractor to a full-service mechanical contractor with their own sheet metal shop. Today, A&R is a plumbing, heating, ventilation service company with the same excellence in customer service as they provided nearly 100 years ago. Design, build, and maintain. That's what served A&R Mechanical for nearly 100 years. Find them at Lincoln and Kettering in Urbana or online at ar-mech.com.
You've changed thousands of diapers, played hours of peekaboo and duck duck goose because you do anything for your kids. That's why it's so important to protect them with life insurance from State Farm. State Farm agent Kurt Lenschow will help make it easy and affordable to help you protect your family no matter what the future holds. Because for the people you do anything for, life insurance could mean everything. Call State Farm agent Kurt Lenschow in Champaign-Urbana today. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. This is WSJK Tuscola, Champaign-Urbana, your home for the St. Louis Cardinals.
Hiring policies in the Biden administration. The NTSB holds a briefing later this hour. The crash investigation continuing as crews continue a difficult search of the Potomac River. So far, recovering 41 bodies of the 67 people killed. Also today, new restrictions on helicopters are in place around Washington's Reagan National Airport. President Trump doubling down on tariffs.
You see the power of the tariff. I mean, the tariff is good, and nobody can compete with us because we have by far the biggest piggy bank.
25% tariffs will hit imports from Canada and Mexico beginning tomorrow, and 10% for China over illegal immigration and fentanyl.
You know, China makes the fentanyl, gives it to Mexico, puts it through Canada, puts it through different places, mostly Mexico, but also a lot through Canada. And so all three haven't treated us very well.
The Canadian Prime Minister says only a fraction of the fentanyl comes from Canada and that he's ready to respond to tariffs. President Trump says there may be short-term disruption, but he rejects claims U.S. consumers will face higher prices. A second federal judge has just ordered a temporary pause in the Trump administration efforts to freeze federal funding. The president has defended a freeze on grants and loans to allow time to review how money is spent, insisting it does not freeze direct assistance to Americans. The latest order from a judge blocking the freeze comes despite the rescission of a memo ordering the freeze. America is listening to Fox News.
Sometimes I struggle to get to sleep. My body stopped for the day, but my mind is still running. So I take ZzzQuil.
ZzzQuil, the world's #1 sleep aid brand, has a range of non-habit-forming products to fit you and your family's needs. Invest in a great night's sleep for the best you tomorrow.
I'm awake and ready to take on anything.
Better days start with ZzzQuil nights. Explore our products at ZzzQuil.com. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Hey, Mom, I've been meaning to talk to you about some new COVID information I saw online. I read that black folks like us with certain conditions like diabetes, heart disease, mental health conditions, or being 50 and older, like you, are at high risk.
Boy, you sound like a commercial.
I'm just saying. I know you love your ginger teas and essential oils, but remember, there are treatment options for COVID-19.
I promise if I get sick again, I'll call my doctor to ask about my options.
Visit WeTalkWeRise.com to learn more. Brought to you by Pfizer.
Senior FBI officials are being told to resign or be fired.
The exact number of FBI officials told to resign or lose their jobs has not been disclosed, but Fox News has confirmed an ultimatum was delivered to senior Bureau employees promoted by former Director Christopher Wray. An email to colleagues from one of those agents, reported by the New York Times, says he learned he'd be dismissed as soon as Monday morning and was given no rationale for the decision. The FBI declined to comment on that reporting. At his confirmation hearing this week, FBI Director nominee Kash Patel said he had no desire in going backwards or seeking retribution and told senators he was unaware of any plans to punish agents involved in the investigations of President Trump. at the White House. Jared Halpern, Fox News.
A New York doctor is indicted in Louisiana, accused of prescribing abortion pills online in a state with a near total abortion ban. The Louisiana charge is a felony, criminal abortion by means of abortion-inducing drugs, after the state became the first in the nation to reclassify two abortion drugs as controlled dangerous substances. New York has a law aimed at shielding providers and telehealth patients. That state's attorney general calling the charges a cowardly attempt to weaponize the law against out-of-state providers. Inflation stays sticky.
The latest read on inflation shows it worsened in December as expected. The Fed's preferred inflation measure, the Personal Consumption Expenditures, or PCE price index, accelerated slightly in December as price growth remained stubbornly above the central bank's annual target. The PCE rising 0.3% in December. It was up 2.6% from a year earlier. That matched expectations. Core PCE, which excludes volatile food and energy components, was up 0.2% in December and 2.8% year over year.
Fox's Lillian Wu. Stocks lower today, higher for January. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News.
Drive. Good evening, good afternoon, whatever you want to call it. It's really not that good. I just bad afternoon. How about that? Bad morning. Illinois drops one in Nebraska. Just heard from Corey Witt. Came in. Hans D is sitting next to me. We'll hear from Hans bottom of this hour. But right now we're going to go to the phone lines and bring in our co-host, the co-host of this show, of course, The Drive with Tay and Piper, and that is Derek Piper. What's up, Pipes?
What's going on, man? How you doing?
Well, you know what? I had a really good first hour, and then now I'm just regurgitating all over myself. Like I'm a Duke player right now, I guess, over at Cameron. So, I guess like I want to, you know me, like I'm a positive guy. I like to have fun. I like to laugh, and when I have to talk about bad stuff, like it just kind of annoys me. So here we are talking about bad stuff. And I wanted to play something before we got into our conversation, if you'll allow me. Will you allow me
Sure.
that? Okay. Here it
go
is,
for
Derek. I think you heard this last night because I believe this is you talking.
Right, you guys have only shot 25% from three since Oregon. Is there anything you've seen in the process, the kind of shots you're getting, that is there a point that that's bothering you?
Not at all. I'm good with it because we got 21 back. And those 21 lead to layups or opportunities, and it's a I don't know, a downtime. It's one thing you can't control. Without Tommy, it's no lie, we're not the greatest post-up team in the world, but we've got to be able to crease the defense with our guards, and we have been. We're one of the top teams in the country with 2-point rate. Tonight we didn't, and didn't do it very well. And that's a tribute to their defense. But I can't get. I mean, some of those were so open that you weren't very good as a player, but you could have made some of those. And that's, believe me, I've heard. So I know how crappy a player you were.
Oh wow, crappy player Derek Piper was. Pipes, what's up with that? Brad was a little salty last night.
He was, yeah. No, it's all good. I'm not saying he's totally wrong on that. If you're talking relative to the level of play that you're in the Big Ten for, I'm not going to sit here and try to defend myself. Well, Brad, the catch and shoot numbers in the intramural league back in the early 2010s were actually said that the analytics, which you can appreciate, were actually decent. I'm not going to fight him back too much on that, but Brad being Brad, he's upset off of a loss, and I got thick enough skin that I can take that
I was
one.
gonna
So all in fun spirited as well. it's funny. You're in the visiting media room and got a lot of unfamiliar faces, and there were some people who don't know me or know Brad all that well who certainly enjoyed and laughed and looked and wanted a response from me. But no, we weren't. Well, I wasn't going to fight back on that too much.
Yeah, you're not going to play that game. Well, he was kind of in that salty mood of just answering questions back to the reporters as we went along, so that you could just tell it was not a good night for Brad Underwood. Obviously not a good night for Illinois, not a good night from the perimeter. Let's talk about that first. I know yesterday Kyle and I talked all about consistency and how I don't trust this team to be consistent enough to win a slew of games come March, let's say, to get you where you want to be in that March Madness. And we also talked about turnovers. So those are a couple of things I want to talk to you about. I mean, if you're going to be consistent, Pipes, you got to be able to do things consistently. And unfortunately, Illinois does not shoot the ball consistently. And last night was especially one of those where I think the starters were 0 for 12 minus KJ, right, from the floor, from three-point line, from deep. Rickhouse couldn't make anything. He finally made a free throw. It was just an ugly night in Lincoln.
It really was. The problem is you are starting to find some consistency. It's just the wrong kind.
Right.
You're shooting 30-plus threes a night, and you're only making 25, 26% of them. Really, since Oregon, that's the number. You got 8 games since then, 7, 8 games, and during that stretch, although you did, bomb 16 threes there in Eugene on 29 attempts, since then you've averaged 31 attempts from beyond the arc, and you're shooting around 26, 25%. So this isn't an outlier at this point. The fact that they have struggled this mightily to shoot a good percentage, yes, there is something to be said for if you shoot a high volume, you can sacrifice some efficiency here and there. I know Brad in his answer, as you heard, he talked about offensive rebounding, which is it can clean up some of that. It can clean up some of the the need to shoot 35 to 38% if you can get some of those misses back. Now, I think in general, I know a lot of people are unhappy about the 3-point line and everything, and I get it. Like, especially the ones, and we talked before I left. I think just the idea of some clean catch and shoot threes, even if Ben's going to take them and miss them.
Sure,
I can live with those a lot easier than the Kylan Boswell step back, and really KJ, for as good as he is at the step back three, he'll force them up there that really, make you wince and not love what that looks like. Will Riley took some tough ones. So there's plenty to get into there. Brad is not backing down from, we're still going to shoot a lot of them and be fine with it. To some extent, it's who you were built to be. And I think that it's understandable to still try to find that. Like, we're gonna put shooters around KJ, and when he kicks it out, we got to take those shots. And there is something to be said of that to an extent, but I think it's frustrating. And one last point that I wanted to mention on it, Tommy has brought up, all the time now about his impact being out. He's a really good player. He does impact both sides of the floor, but make no mistake, from a just purely three-point shooting standpoint, Tommy's only shooting 29% from three in Big Ten play. So he's not going to all of a sudden at what he's shown to date drastically alter your three-point percentage. So is this a misevaluation, overconfidence in guys that aren't getting it done, or whatever it is, or do you just need to full out, pivot and try to attack the rim a lot more? It's probably some of all of that up to this point, and we'll see where it goes from here.
My question to you next would be if there is a concern, and I know Brad, I saw Stephen Bardo today on Twitter basically, I wouldn't say defending Brad, but essentially saying you can't change your entire style of play on February 1st, essentially, or January 31st, and just completely become a whole different team the rest of the season. You kind of are who you are at this point, and who you are is a team that's going to take a lot of threes. We know that. Is there anything they can do to pivot off the threes if they're not dropping? In other words, is there a second kind of game plan that Illinois could play that could get the ball to the rim? Is there a lineup like with Trey White, Kylan can get to the rim, KJ can get to the rim? Is there something that this team could maybe work on to where they have a little bit of a second option, if you will, that, hey, guys, the threes aren't going in? Or is this just going to simply be, we're going to keep firing threes?
It's a good question, and Brad's got to be able to come up with that answer for sure. When Tommy comes back, and I know I was listening to you and Corey talk about it, and it's been mentioned a lot, like, while I offer up the three-point shooting for Tommy, he does open up that lane, and he does allow it to be easier for Kylan to get downhill. Yes, Kylan has had his fair share of struggles finishing at the rim, but he can draw fouls at the very least. KJ going downhill, Trey going downhill. I think in general, having some more established off-ball movement, cutting, is something that is very noticeably lacking here recently. So is that something that can lead to action going downhill? Because it just gets stagnant. When you got two-man game action, pick and pop or pick and roll, and then three guys spotted up around the perimeter, and if KJ can't create an advantage off of that, going downhill and whatnot, then you stagnate out, and you're taking a lot of contested threes or step back threes or whatever it might be. They played a ton of ISO ball last night. It was very reminiscent of 2 years ago, the Matthew Meyer, Terrence Shannon season, which you don't want to draw parallels to. You want to avoid that as much as possible. Something that I've talked about and written a little bit about, I think transition is something they got to really try to wrap their arms around, because I think especially when Tommy's out, Merez playing more minutes. Merez is a five-man that can beat his guy down the floor. He can get up and down. I think that playing in the open court in terms of just being fast almost just instills an attack mode, something that I think there's something to be said when you get up and down like that will push you to want to attack the rim. And it's harder for a defense to get set, which means it's harder for them to take away driving lanes. And I think Kylan can attack in the open court. Dre gives Lawhorn in the open court. I think that's something that as this team gets into the half court and gets three happy and settling, I'd like to see them try to play faster. Now, if you are going to try to go that route, you got to make sure it doesn't mean you're turning the ball over even more than you already are, because that's a big concern here recently as well. So those are things that come to mind for me. We'll see if there's anything else or what they ultimately decide to do. But on the note of just kind of the ISO step back, Brad, I asked him about that earlier, and
sure,
he's like, yeah, it was terrible, and we gotta figure out a way to play without Tommy, and they obviously didn't do it well enough last night.
DGL hits a huge three, and then they take him out of the game right at the end, essentially, of regulation, when you'd love to have him in there. Two questions. Why do you do that and bring Rickhouse back in? Is it just for the familiarity of, well, this is who is on the court most of the time, so we want him on the court to kind of run a set that he's more familiar with and maybe DGL isn't? That's the first question. Number two, should Dre Gibbs Lawhorn, he's playing a lot. Should he, with Tommy out, should they maybe play Dre a lot more until Tommy gets back, just almost to give you a different look?
To answer that last part first, I think yes, absolutely. It's a guy that is playing better than Kylan Boswell right now, and I don't know that you pull the trigger on Kylan out of the starting lineup, Dre in. You could go three guards if you wanted to, if you're worried about just where Kylan would be mentally, confidence-wise. But you do have to, it's part of managing. I know some people might say, yeah, well, do you really have to worry about that? Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes you do want to make sure that a guy's not going to take a benching or something like that and have it really, have them go in the tank type of deal. So, maybe they put DGL in for Ben, and to mention that obvious same substitution choice that got very much in action last night. That again, I think that would go to play maybe faster and having just the quickness on the perimeter and that type of thing. And Dre's going to compete his butt off at the defensive end as well. So I just love his energy, his toughness. he's a go-to-war type of player. He made some tough buckets. I mean, that corner three, I know it was open, but at that moment of the game, for a guy that still doesn't have a ton of experience under his belt, to step up and make it. And I thought he had some tough finishes on twos that you drive to the basket. Sometimes you're like, oh, Dre, that's a tough look, and he puts it in. So he's been great. I think he can be a tone-setting type of guy, and I just think Brad maybe almost as a message to his locker room, like reward Dre for what he's given you and allow that to be kind of the standard. When you play your butt off and you play tough and you bring it every day, you just preach everyday guys, like we're going to reward that, and those that aren't need to try to catch up to that. Down the stretch for that particular situation, Brad said that, he mentioned Ben as a floor spacer. He also talked about screening and didn't want Nebraska to be able to switch. Joey and I at the hotel went back and watched it last night. I kind of understand what
I'm calling BS on that one, Derek. Come on.
We did. No, that's true. We went to a pizza place, did some riding, and then we pulled up the game back at the hotel. No beverages consumed, unfortunately.
Wow.
But yeah, I don't know. I was too shaken to drink after having my basketball abilities questioned. But
I interrupted you. I'm sorry.
You're good. You could see that when Ben is screening for KJ, and if Dre's in that situation, Nebraska can switch it, and it's harder to get the ball in bounds. That's kind of the essence of it. That's the bottom line, which we all know Illinois has had a brutal time with sideline out of bounds, and even one of them they had to throw it a million miles into the backcourt for KJ to go get anyway. So the thing that made it look bad was Brad tried to then switch it back on the actual play where they played it out, the Will corner shot ultimately, and they tried to send Dre to the scorer's table late. The ref didn't acknowledge it, or they said it was too late. Ben ends up turning his entire back to the play because he thinks he's subbing out. Brad's yelling at the official. Dre's standing at the scorer's table, and you run just a little, throw it to the corner. Will Riley, tough shot, and that's where it was just a mess. And got to be better. Got to be better. That's coaching. That's execution, and that particular situation has been just a disaster for Illinois all year.
I totally agree, and that's very frustrating when that happens because it's like, wait, you're kind of here for that moment. That there's certain moments during a game where you've got to be your best at that moment, and that can be frustrating. We've had a couple of texts today about Tyler Underwood and about this offense. He is considered, I believe, the kind of the offensive coordinator, if you will, of this team. I don't know how to ask the question. Should there be some issues right now with that and just the way this offense is flowing, or is it simply that this, like you may have answered already, essentially that this team was constructed to do what they're doing right now, and there's really no other way around it?
No, I think some criticism is fair. Just as Tyler got a lot of praise last year, and deservingly so, for helping to coordinate an offense that was top 5 in the country. And yes, they did have Terrence Shannon, and yes, they had Marcus Damask, but to push the right buttons to go with Booty Ball and to build their offense around that. Like, if you're going to credit that, which, again, it should have been credited, and understand the buttons that were pushed, just the pieces and positioning in the right ways, that he did that great. And I think Tyler's very smart. Tyler's done a really good job, in my opinion, ever since he became more of a prominent voice offensively. I think Brad, just in general, and obviously any schematic thing goes through Brad, and Brad is having his fingers on it as well. Especially, the last couple of years, he opts a lot more times for less set plays, less kind of over micromanaging. He wants players to play with freedom and not necessarily have to, and not have it kind of set out for them what they're supposed to do all the time, which can be a blessing and a curse. And sometimes, when things break down outside of the basic ball screen or whatever it might be, that it gets stagnant and it gets kind of like hero ball, ISO ball type of thing. And he's not having his point guard look to the sideline all the time to draw up a play or to have Brad call a play. or Tyler in that sense.
Yeah.
It's different. Matt Painter is very set heavy, and I think there's a lot of times when it's done well, that's really good. I think this team could use a little bit more, especially, and it's not just, you could talk about, can you draw up a set for Benham Rickhouse to get a three? Can you draw up something to get a slip screen, a cut, something to the basket? Those are things that are fair ask, I think, from the outside of it. But there is definitely too, and I think Brad in general also he's trying to figure out, here's what our identity is. Here's what we think we have deemed as the best way with this roster, how we built this roster, and not trying to just abandon ship and that type of thing. So I think all of that is working right now, and they're trying to understand how to navigate it. So, but yeah, criticism I think is warranted, and we'll see what pivots they have. And the good thing is they still have time to try to do something.
All right, I've got two more for you, Derek Piper. One of them, the last one, will be about Ohio State on Sunday because we won't have a chance, obviously, with it being Friday, to get your thoughts on that game. So that'll be my final question. My question now is, save us all right now. We're all in like this doldrum. I tweeted out immediately after the game, 6 seed. I feel like Illinois has gone from a 4 to a 6. You know how much I love that 6 seed. I don't mind it. I'd rather be a 3. Don't get me wrong. So I guess for us, the Illini fans that are just in this kind of this state of what we're in right now, there's still a lot to play for, right? There's still a chance to kind of bounce back and finish this season strong, essentially, and maybe work your way up. I mean, have they worked their way out of any seed? I mean, top 2, probably not. Can they still make it 3, et cetera? You get where I'm going at. Just make me feel better.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I get it. Try to make you feel better.
Hans, hand me that beer over there.
Yeah, it is, the drink button, that should help you, right?
Right, that would help.
It's a Friday. But 2 seed, yeah, I mean, a couple weeks ago, that seemed like a very real thing to chase, and that I don't think that's going to be realistic. 3 seed, you have to go on a real run here, which that's where we kind of get tired of we're going to have to shelf that, right?
Right.
That we mentioned it after Michigan State, and then the Maryland game happens, and like now I think that the worrisome part is like there's not a lot of should be wins left, like
right.
Or like you can confidently say, hey, you go to the barn and whatever, like Illinois should, like I don't know, I don't know anymore on a lot of these games. So no, I'm not making you feel better by saying that either, but I think
grab the other beer, Hans.
To see what we saw last night, and then you pop on Joe Lunardi's bracketology, you're still a 5 seed. Like,
wow,
that shows that you're being rewarded for some of the work you did up to this point.
Fair enough.
The Oregon win is standing up well. The Missouri win is standing up well. I know people are tired of hearing about metrics and everything, but those still look decent enough to where you have a pretty good baseline. Yes, we're at very much a fork in the road where if you let this continue to slide, and then we're talking you're in the 8-9 game before you really know it. But there's still a point right now where the floor is at least high enough that any bubble talk is way too premature, and they'd have to completely bottom out to really get into that type of situation. So mostly I'd say it's still a talented roster. Brad has still shown in a number of years that they do rally towards the finish line.
Sure.
And I'll leave you, the 2019-20 team, which we all would have loved to see them play in the NCAA tournament, they lost 4 in a row to start February.
Wow.
And then won 5 of 6. So it's been done before. And Brad, look, say what you want about Brad. Does he deserve criticism? Yeah, sure. He's a good coach, and he's had his teams, again, he's had them find a way. So we'll see. We'll see if they can do it, and they're certainly talented enough to do it, but it's been ugly here recently.
There's a lot of fan bases that are going through a day like we're doing right now. Let's just be honest, right? This isn't just it's not just an Illinois exclusive thing. I mean, this is happening all over the place, and it does happen. So now it's a matter of how do you rebound from it and go forward. One way to do that would be to beat Ohio State on Sunday. Ohio State comes in with Bruce Thornton. They've got Parrish underneath. They've got I can't think of the kid's name. Is it Oglesby or something? That's really like lights out right now for this team, and assists and scoring as well. I don't know why I can't think of his name, but anyway, what do you think of this Ohio State team coming in? Can it be a get right game for Illinois? Although the Buckeyes seem to be coming in with some pretty good talent.
Yeah, they're hot right now. They've won 3 in a row. They played. And right before that Purdue game, they were struggling, and they were starting to be, hey, it's going to be a one and done for Jake Diebler there in Columbus. But they've figured it out of late. And Junie Mobley, the freshman, is kind of like I saw him in AAU, and I'm not calling him Steph Curry, but you can see that he came from the Steph Curry generation, a smaller guard that can, the quick release and unlimited range, and just has that ability to take over a game as far as that goes. And I think obviously you got respect for Thornton as a tough kind of pit bull point guard who's been around the block a number of times. And they're playing pretty well. They're playing with confidence. If they can go into Mackey and win, they can go to any building and get that thing done. Devin Royal is back. Devin Royal's had a nice season as kind of a Swiss Army knife type of forward who's physical and can do well on the glass and all that type of thing. So I think Illinois, obviously, I would expect them to play hungry and energized, and I think that the practices are going to be very less than enjoyable here coming up, and I would expect a response as far as that goes. But I think that Brad kind of setting the tone with what's going to change. Something's going to change.
Yeah,
rotation's going to change in some way. Starting lineup might change, and to see what that ultimately looks like. It's a backs against the wall moment. You can't lose this game and not just have total freak out mode from everybody around. So it feels like Illinois. I still have enough belief that they won't bottom out and they will figure it out. So, but it is not easy. It's not easy, and then at Rutgers, it's probably not easy, and a stretch that really was supposed to be a pretty favorable one is you got a lot more questions than you thought, and oh, by the way, Duke's still waiting for you. At Wisconsin's still waiting for you. At Michigan's still waiting for you. Michigan State, Purdue, got to figure it out.
Well, and you used the word belief like Tim Beckman, so obviously Derek Piper needs to catch a nap. So we're going to let you go. You're going downhill in a hurry now after that. No, I kid you. All right, it sounds like you made it back, which is good news. So congrats on the trip out and back. But
we are actually we're at a Come and Go, which is a gas station.
Yeah,
and in Iowa, and still a good chunk of ways to go back. So just in case my wife was listening, I'm not just hanging around town.
Oh, yeah.
While you watch the kids, I will.
You're not at Pia's?
No. Handful of hours left to go.
Okay.
So, the glorious job that is the beat. But,
isn't that the truth?
No, it's good chatting.
Amen, buddy, and I'm glad that is the gas station. So, Derek, be safe. Safe travels. We'll talk to you soon, my friend, on Monday. Oh, hey, wow, that was like quicker than Jeremy Werner getting off the phone there. All right, we got to do some work here. That's what we do. Hey, as the needs of customers grow, Busey continues to expand its digital footprint, allowing you to bank when and how you want. I mentioned this yesterday. You can open accounts online. You can save a trip to the bank, apply for new checking and saving accounts online. The online apps for personal and recreational vehicles even are available. Request an appointment if you're wanting to speak to somebody in wealth management about retirement and saving for retirement. Do you have enough for retirement? You can request an appointment online, skip the line, and just schedule online. You can do that for your personal checking, savings, mortgage, wealth management. You choose the location, the date, and the time. Questions about how to bank from the comfort and safety of your home. Busey's there to help. Contact a member of their customer care team Monday through Friday, 7:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. They're there right now until 6, another hour and a half. And then Saturday, they're there 8 to noon. You can call 1-800-67-BUSY for a personalized walkthrough for these easy-to-use tools like the e-banking, where you can deposit checks, analyze spending habits, all of that online. It's a great mobile banking tool. That is Busey, member FDIC. Hans D is here. He joins me when we return. It is The Drive.
Good morning, First Federal Savings Bank. How may I direct your call?
Speak with friendly, real people. Call during lobby hours. Personal, friendly service makes a difference. 217-356-BANK.
Thank you for calling. Have a great day.
Rated 5-star superior by Bauer Financial, Inc. Fast, friendly, and local with local loan decisions and underwriting. If you're not already banking with us, give us a try. We think you'll love it here. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS 435120.
Take charge of the years ahead with a smart, sound investment strategy and business succession plan. Busey Bank's business and wealth management experts help you envision your best future with powerful insights and proven strategies. Building business and growing wealth since 1868. Busey Bank, proud to be the official bank of the Fighting Illini. Member FDIC.
I'm Justin Ike, co-owner of Fred's Plumbing, Heating, Air Conditioning, Electric, and Underground.
So, Justin, tell me what you see as typical when it comes to sewer repair. Give me a scenario.
Your sewer's backed up and somebody comes along and says, you need this repair for X amount of dollars. Here's my price. And you don't think to go looking for another company or a second opinion because you don't feel like you have time.
So is it possible that you might get charged a little more because it's kind of a desperate moment? Do some companies do that?
Oh, absolutely they will. They know you're in a pinch. Typically, if you call us, me or Will can be out there within an hour to look at that problem for you. Whether you call me first or you call me second, make sure you give me a call.
Anything else, Justin?
You can always trust Fred's.
Great to know. Thank you. That's Justin Ike, the co-owner of Fred's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning, Electric, and Underground. If you want more information about this great 45-year family-owned company, just go to fredscu.com. That's fredscu.com. Tim, talk to me about Gale Forex Trucking. Any news?
A couple of new drivers on board that joined the team, and I think I may have one open spot left, maybe two. And we can always buy more trucks if they're good drivers. But it's been a challenge, but everybody has stayed safe, and I appreciate that. We've got a great group of guys that know that they have to safely service the customers, and they're doing that.
Describe the kind of driver you would love to hire.
Somebody that wants to work, knows the importance of being on time and servicing the customer, but also enjoys their quality home time with their family. It's difficult for truck drivers that are stuck out on the road for weeks at a time, so we just don't do that to them. We want them to have that quality time, rest their brain, rest their body, be with their family. That's real important to us.
How can people reach Tim Onstock?
They can get me at timo@gftlog.com.
You've set your financial goals. One kid plans to go Big Ten, the other Ivy. Your bucket list includes seaside sunrises and sunsets on the slopes, or perhaps a second home away from it all. Busey Bank can help develop the right investment strategy to take charge of the years ahead. Busey Bank, building business, growing wealth since 1868. Proud to be the official bank of the Fighting Illini. Member FDIC.
Jets Pizza is offering a special deal when you spend $25. Just use promo code 5ADD. That's the number 5ADD and specify Jets bread or cinnamon sticks for only $5. Combine that with their current $5 off pizza promos and you can cheer on the Illini while enjoying hot pizza with your favorite Jets bread or cinnamon sticks. What a deal. You spend $25, enter 5ADD for Jets bread or cinnamon sticks for just $5. Jets, better because it has to be.
There I was in my business suit, all dressed up, just uptight as I could possibly be. And I don't remember much of what was said at that first AA meeting. It was more the feeling of the meeting itself.
That's what has kept me going. I know it works, and I see the people ahead of me with more sobriety. I see how happy they are, and I want that. I want that too.
And what I notice about AA is it sort of helps me to relax and learn to really be happy with my sobriety. It's a richer life to live.
That's exactly what Alcoholics Anonymous does. It teaches us how to live without drinking. It teaches us how to have fun and really enjoy life without drinking.
This program's given me the good life. The only good life I've ever known.
In East Central Illinois, over 100 AA meetings and almost 20 Zoom meetings in our district each week. AA-ECI.org.
Alcoholics Anonymous. It works. Look us up. Check your phone book, newspaper, or AA.org.
It is The Drive, ESPN Radio 93.5. The Drive with Sandpiper. You just heard from Derek Piper. He will be here Monday, of course, giving us the recap of the Ohio State game. It's always kind of nice to go into the weekend after that, like Nebraska. We just talk about it once and move on. Then there'll be a game in between. Hans, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Hans D is here. Yeah, I mean, I'm here.
Yeah.
Kind of a frustrating game last night.
Very. That was horrible.
Can I start with something serious and then let's get into sports?
Sure.
How in the world does the helicopter run into the airplane? I'm not making any kind of
I get it.
Fun with this. It's tragedy.
It is.
How in the world? I mean, you had a Southwest plane that was landing, correct?
Maybe before them.
Oh,
but it was a CRJ, which is a smaller jet that used to fly into Champaign. One of those.
Okay.
64 passengers on that.
Is that right?
Yeah.
There were that many passengers.
Yeah, it's sad, but not like a 7-3 with hundreds of people.
Okay,
but
I was
wrong.
wrong.
They were coming in to Ronald Reagan at 400 feet, so they're really not at fault in any way.
Right.
They
have been cleared, right?
They were
land.
cleared to land. All that. This helicopter though is coming from the other side of the river. And they're just heading straight through the final approach course for that runway, which is just does not make any sense whatsoever. The pilots must have been I don't know, but they must have been out of it, just not thinking straight. And when ATC, Air Traffic Control, called up the helicopter saying, hey, do you have that jet in sight? They said yes. And my assumption is that they saw the plane landing before the CRJ was coming through.
Gotcha.
The CRJ was off to their left, and the plane landing was off to their right because it's such a busy airspace.
But a helicopter,
I know.
Unlike a plane, like a helicopter for the most part has so much visual.
I know. I thought so too.
There's huge windows, right? I mean, I've been in probably 3 helicopters, maybe 4
cool.
in my life.
Wow.
I had a buddy here from Philo that took the boys and I up and flew us around St. Louis and stuff.
Awesome.
I've done that. I've done a few. I've been very fortunate to go up in a helicopter a couple of times. It's really awesome if you've never done it. But there is, you can see everywhere, 365 in a helicopter. And that's, I don't know.
I'm thinking the pilots might have had night vision goggles or whatever. And that might have been a bad thing in terms of just vision. But they also, I heard, had 3 people on board rather than 4. And I guess in a Blackhawk, you're supposed to have 4, so you got 2 people in the back facing each direction, right and left.
Oh.
And I'm assuming that they didn't have the person in the left side looking out to where the jet was. But it was just it's devastating.
It is.
But just really hard to believe.
Well, I know because, you've even seen that was on purpose, that kind of stuff. But it is when you watch it, you're just like, okay, how the hell do you not see that plane?
No idea, because those lights are so bright.
And the helicopter's the only thing that could do something last second to get out of the way, right?
Especially like a Blackhawk,
right?
Military
I
helicopter.
mean, the plane's not going to be able to.
No, they're committed in a way.
Yeah.
I mean, they could do something, but they're really not nearly as mobile.
Could you, in a split second, how high or low, drop or rise, could you go in a split second? Could you drop the plane 100 feet in 2 seconds?
Not really. I mean,
right?
especially in a jet, the engines either have to spool up all the way or spool down, and then you drop, and you have to really put your nose down or pitch up a lot.
Yeah, right.
So it takes a minute. The
Okay.
helicopter though is a lot more agile.
I mean, especially Well,
so it's hard to. I hope something comes out of it that makes sense.
That was tragic.
Yeah,
that
it
was tragic. All right. Okay, so that's out of the way.
Yeah.
Normally, when I talk aviation with you, it's all fun and games,
Yeah.
right? But that obviously that was tragic. So, but that's out of the way. Hans D is there. Appreciate you coming in.
Yeah.
Obviously, had Corey Witt the first hour. Just talked to Derek Piper, and now we've got Hans D to do a little who you got to kind of round the show out here. Last night, I'm sure you were able to watch the game.
Yeah.
I mean, yuck.
Mm-hmm. It was really bad and just so frustrating. I get that
I was
we're
expecting
a team.
to see Myers Leonard on the bench crying.
Yeah.
Wasn't that at Nebraska, I think? I mean, that's how bad I was crying.
Yeah.
Here in Philo.
It was awful. And I know we're a team that shoots a bunch of threes, but dang.
Picked a bad night to stop drinking. You know?
Yeah.
That was the line.
That was just ridiculous. Like, okay, obviously you guys aren't making threes.
No.
Occasionally, if you got an open shot, go for it, but don't force it.
Right.
I saw KJ force like 3 or 4 threes, and I know he can make some of those,
Sure.
which is amazing.
Sure.
But he wasn't making them last night.
Nope.
Stop.
Neither was
and drive
Kylan
to the
was
hoop.
forcing them. Right.
Yeah. Kylan, I did see him drive to the hoop
Couple
multiple.
times.
Yeah, I thought multiple, but maybe a couple times. And I loved it. It's like, yeah, go up and you'll get fouled 50% of the time with these Big Ten soft, officials that, call everything. Do that more often.
Right. I'm with you.
Just frustrating, and the inconsistency of this team is the most frustrating part. But I don't know. I don't know what to say.
I got to give Lindy on the Max Twin City Recycling text line because he texted me last night and just was blowing up my phone, as he should probably. And he said, I've been busy, but I can sum up last night real easy. Lawn flipping Tay. I know it wasn't the players or the coaches, not the USC game, not last night. It's 100% lawn. Quote, I have no concern about this game. And I did say that yesterday. So I have to take that.
Yep.
I have to take that like a man, and I kind of agree with you on that. So that's a little frustrating. A 651 said, what about the bandage on BU's hand after halftime? I haven't heard that mentioned yet. I had heard that maybe Brad broke his hand or possibly did some damage to it at halftime.
Wow, yeah.
So that wasn't a very fun halftime speech.
Yeah. Is he going to change his game plan or just keep it the same, though?
I mean,
and just get angry and not do anything about it?
I mean, he was
yeah.
terse. Is that a word? He was terse with the reporters last night who were just trying to do their job, right?
Yeah.
It's not their fault that they lost.
No.
Although he did call Piper a crappy player. I mean, there's some fun in that, right? There's zero personal shots there from Brad Underwood at Derek Piper, but that it is kind of funny. He's like, I heard you were a crappy player. And yeah, I mean, it's just a bad look and a bad loss for Illinois. We've seen the highs and the lows of this team. I mean, again, we live in the now. I don't remember a team where it's just been so high, like Oregon or Indiana. I mean, I was there for that, watching them go up 30 on the Hoosiers, and it's like, what is going on? And I know Indiana played into that one. But it's like, I've never seen a team so good and then look so bad.
Really?
And it's just literally, like Kyle and I talked yesterday, it just comes down to consistency. And when you're running offense from, how far is the three-point line now in college? Is it 22 feet? I don't even know anymore.
So.
Remember it was 19.9 forever? And I think high school and college used to have the same distance. And then, like, college moved out to, like, 20'9" or something. I'm getting all my numbers wrong.
22 feet.
Okay, 22 feet. So when you're essentially running your offense from 22 feet out, and that's your game plan.
Horrible.
You're going to have some inconsistency in your games.
Easy to defend, too. Like
I mean,
you mentioned earlier, they're just defending you on the line.
Well, and Nebraska did a great job last night.
Yeah.
And which was very weird because going into the game, they were like the worst team at defending the three. And then last night, but maybe that tells you something. I'm glad that kind of came up. I thought of this last night. Like, Nebraska did a great job of taking away the three. There were a lot of times where they were right in our grill. Like, Rickhouse would get it, boom, that guy's right there. Bryce Williams or whomever was right on him. And I started thinking to myself, why are they so able? Why tonight, as a team that can't guard the three, why are they so good tonight? And I started thinking, because Illinois has no other game plan.
Yeah.
Like, whereas maybe other teams can show you a look down low. And granted, if Ivisic is there,
Sure.
it makes a little bit of a difference.
Mhm.
But it's not like he lives on the post.
No.
So it's almost as though, like, other teams have, like, a second option that Nebraska's like, well, we can't totally take the three away because then it's going to leave.
Right.
But against Illinois, they're like, just go take the three away. Don't worry.
Right.
Just trust me on this. And it worked all night for Fred Hoiberg.
Too easy. Yeah.
Too easy. So it was frustrating. Very frustrating. And now you got Ohio State coming up Sunday. You need the bounce back there.
Yeah.
So you're not 500 in Big Ten play.
And they're feeling good right now.
They are. There's no doubt. They've won 3 in a row. They look good. And that won't be easy. So we'll see what Illinois can do. They looked good at home against Northwestern. So maybe they can, maybe they'll look, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We'll see.
Hey, I went to Cancun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How was that?
It was fine.
Fine.
It was good. It wasn't -10.
Ugh, good.
Like it was here.
Lucky.
But it wasn't the day I got there, it was 80 degrees.
Mm.
So I get checked in. You know, it's a long flight. It's an early flight out of Lambert. So I get checked in, and they were great in the process. Everybody at the place I had gone was wonderful. But they got me to the room quick. You know, you walk into the room, you open the fridge, there's just beer. It's an all-inclusive, right?
Oh.
So there's Dos Equis just sitting there waiting on me. And then up on the wall, right above the fridge, there's 4 bottles. There's a tequila, a gin, a vodka, and a rum.
Wow.
And you can it's free, right? So you just pull whatever you want and go.
That's crazy.
So the whole time I was there, which was 4 days, I literally did like 1 shot of vodka out of that. Like I mixed it with some 7-Up.
Yeah.
And that was it. Like,
oh,
what?
Nice. Okay.
I know. So but that first day, like I just, normally when I get to a hotel room, I unpack.
Yeah.
I kind of get my clothes sorted. I'm one of those idiots that doesn't live out of a suitcase.
Mhm.
Like I want to get
same
my
here, yeah.
I like top drawers, my underwear and
Oh,
socks.
you put stuff in the drawers?
Oh,
Okay,
yeah,
never
I totally
mind.
do. I totally do.
No.
So I hang up my shirts.
That is weird.
Yeah, well, that's
I hang up my shirts too.
Okay. So no, I totally do that. Like
Okay.
I don't. Then my suitcase goes in a corner,
Oh, wow.
and then when I'm ready to go home, I bring the suitcase back to the bed and just throw it all in.
Nice.
right?
Okay.
And I always take like the like grocery store, those little baggies you get.
Yeah.
I always take those for dirty clothes.
The
et
laundry
cetera.
bags?
Yeah, the laundry. Well, not
Oh no. Okay.
like
okay.
you know, like a
use your
Meijer
own.
bag
Yeah.
or whatever. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So So but that first day, I was like, because it's 80 degrees, and I knew it was supposed to rain most of the week
Yeah.
and be overcast.
Get out of the
so
room.
I sprinted down to the pool that first day. It was great.
Awesome.
It was 3 hours of like 80 degrees and sunny as can be, and meanwhile it was like -5 here.
Amazing.
And I just sat out there and just enjoyed life for 3 hours, listened to some music. And I'm the only geek that doesn't have, what do you call the headphones?
Earbuds?
Yeah. I had a pair and they broke.
Oh.
And I've never gone back to get them. This is how the struggle is real, Hans. I get a hold of Lucas on the way down on a Saturday. Flew out on a Sunday, so Andrew had a game at Effingham. So I'm driving down to St. Louis, and I'm spending the night at a Drury, and then I'm going to park there and everything. So I get a hold of Lucas. I'm like, hey, so can I go to like wherever and get earbuds? And he goes, yeah. And I'm
AirPods.
like,
Sorry,
AirPods.
AirPods.
I'm sorry.
That's my bad.
And he goes, well, yeah. And I said, but are they going to last all day? Like, for instance,
Right.
I'm at the airport at 4:30 in the morning. Are they going to last until like 6 o'clock at night because I want to sit out at the pool? I don't want them dying on me.
No.
And he goes, no, they should be fine.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, no. So I went ahead and just bought the cord.
Good. All right.
So I'm sitting at the pool with a lot of young people, not going to lie to you, and nobody has a cord.
Sure.
Everybody's got the AirPod.
Hey, you know what? That's kind of, I know it's sad, but it's coming back in style.
Is
People
it?
are going back to like the wire earbuds.
Oh, okay. So like anybody that walked up to that pool, there were 4 pools. I couldn't get into one of them because I'm not elite.
Oh.
Yeah. But they had a swim up bar pool, which was awesome.
That's
I
their
hit
mistake.
that first day. Right, exactly. And then they had a pool. They had a really cool infinity pool, but that's where they did all their stuff like bingo and exercising and stuff. I'm
okay.
like, I'm not going to start exercising.
The retired
now.
folks
Yeah,
pool.
right. But it was younger people, right?
Oh,
I'm like,
okay.
I just want to get in there and look at the Xfinity and
Yeah.
look out on the ocean. So anyway, I went to the third pool, which was fine. But I'm like, anybody that walked up to that pool and kind of looked around as to where they want to sit, they would see me with the cords. They're like, well, the old people must be on that side. And it's like, come on.
Oh, that's all right.
But it was all right. It was good. No, it was good.
That's good.
Food was decent. I'm
Okay.
not a big.
Mm-hmm.
You go to like these all-inclusives. Like you go down for breakfast.
Yeah.
And there's 250 people. Like
a
just
cruise ship.
Hovering around. Yeah. And like you're trying to get some scrambled eggs, and there's like 4 people right behind you, like
Of
hovering.
course.
And I'm like, can you just give me a little space while I get
right.
my scrambled eggs?
Yeah.
Just give me a little space. Go grab some Fruit Loops, and then you can get next in
Or
line.
fruit.
Or fruit.
Without the loop.
Yeah, right.
You could probably use it. Not
well,
you, Lon.
I'm not
you,
going to
not
say
you.
that. I mean, you talk about not making a lot of sense. But yeah, no. So, but it was fine.
Yeah.
I mean, it was fine.
That's
the
good.
Drinks were flowing.
Good.
So, yeah, I read part of a book.
Sweet.
Just kind of chilled. I even took a nap one day.
Oh.
So
dang. But
yeah.
that's good. You had a relaxing trip.
It was that. It was probably one of the more relaxing trips I've ever had.
Awesome.
Because the weather again was just overcast and
Yeah.
kind of sunny, or
Mhm.
not sunny. Excuse me. So, all right, we're supposed to talk sports. You got a little who you got?
I do.
How about this? Let me take a quick break, and when we come back, wait. I got to make sure. No, wait. No. Yes. No. We're good. We don't need to take a break.
All right, no break.
So what I'm going to do is give you a little music, but I've got to find, see, this is the hard part when what's-his-face does this all the time, right?
Kyle.
There we go. It's a little football theme. I don't know if I like that.
Oh, that's fine.
You sure?
This is the one, I think.
Oh, okay.
Because I always have to wait.
Oh, that's right. All right, so a little who you got. We got about 5 minutes.
All right, tonight, Indiana at number 10, Purdue.
Yeah.
Indiana's 14-7, Purdue's 16-5. Indiana's 5-5 in the Big Ten. Purdue 8-2 in the Big Ten. Who you got?
This is at Purdue?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's not even going to be a game.
No.
So it's too bad because I always, as much as I can't stand both those teams and programs, I always love watching this actual game because it's always fun to kind of see the two rivals go at it, you know. And it's when I watch this game, I always think to myself, it's too bad Northwestern's not a little bit better because it's so lopsided in basketball. It's not even funny. So we don't really, like when we play Northwestern, there's really not this distaste for –
Right.
It's just kind of like, well, we should win that one.
Like we have with
like Iowa.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, and, so like Iowa's got Iowa State, even though it's not a conference, and then Indiana's got Purdue.
Yep.
And Illinois just doesn't really have a natural in-state, for sure, rival.
No.
So it kind of stinks. But I'll definitely go Purdue big on that
Yeah,
one.
same here. Next up, top 10 matchup. We got number 5, Florida at number 8, Tennessee. Florida is 18-2. Tennessee is 17-4. Who you got?
Man, this is tasty. This is at Tennessee. When's this game?
This is tomorrow.
Great. Probably right in the middle of the day. Andrew's got a 12:30 game in normal. This game's probably at 1.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I know I can record it, but
perfect timing.
I know. I'll go Tennessee here. Here's what I want to do, though. I want to watch this game because I have not seen Florida this year.
Oh, yeah.
I have not seen them, and, of course, that could be a team that Illinois runs into one day in the tournament.
True.
So I do want to watch this game tomorrow, so I think I will watch it maybe Sunday morning, but I'm going to go Tennessee in this one.
All right. I'm going to go Florida.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
All right, next up.
Little Teddy Dupay. Remember him? Remember the little guard for the good Florida teams back in the day? Was it Teddy?
I might.
Teddy Dupay
might
was a little
remember.
white guard that could shoot.
I feel like I do.
He was tiny.
Yeah.
But he was really athletic. So
like a Tay. No, I'm kidding.
Oh,
I'm kidding.
no.
You guys aren't small.
But we're not athletic, right?
All right.
There's nothing athletic about a Tay. Well, Andrew's a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a little bit athletic.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, definitely, for sure.
He's got a little bit of country. Is that the song? All right, go ahead.
7th-ranked Spartans visit USC. This might be an interesting game. I don't know, just because of the travel part, but do you think the Spartans will just beat them?
It's funny because I thought the travel thing would come into play more often, but it really hasn't. Like Illinois went out to Oregon and Washington, just blew them out.
Yeah.
Michigan went out there, did the same.
Do I remember
Or was that
correct?
Purdue?
I was listening to you guys maybe a few weeks ago, and it's
Was I on?
the effect. Yeah, I think so. The effect really comes in after the team gets back.
When they get back. Yeah, could be the case.
If maybe.
You know what? We're running out of time. I
Okay.
just noticed. And if Kyle were here, I wouldn't care because he can figure everything out, but I can't.
So
I
right.
got to kind of stay on
Okay.
time.
Game of the week.
I'm gonna go Michigan State though.
All right, same here. Let's go. All right, game of the week. 13-8 Ohio State Buckeyes face the 18th ranked Illini in Champaign on Sunday. Ohio State is 5-5 in Big Ten. Illinois 6-5. KJ leads the Illini with 16 points per game and 5 assists. Bruce Thornton